But let's talk to Stephen Nelson first. He's the chief executive of BAA, which operates Heathrow Airport, among quite a few others in this country, of course. Hello to you. Is there any doubt in your mind that a third runway is needed, another runway is needed?
There is no doubt in my mind. Heathrow is full. It's operating at 99% of its capacity. It is a huge economic powerhouse, both for the nation and for London. And the only long-term solution is to build out a new runway and indeed new terminal facilities.
Any sympathy at all for local people, for those who are living right under the flight path?
Well, the government is very clear on this, and this is really the nature of this public consultation. It cannot be developed without meeting tough environmental limits on noise and on air quality. And therefore, this is definitely not expansion at all costs. As far as the impacts on the ground, they are very regrettable in the sense that if you're bulldozing people's homes to put down a new runway, of course it's a very harsh consequence of balancing the national interest with the local communities. If we could do it another way, we certainly would. And as I say, this is part of the consultation process to see, one, whether these limits can be met, and we're confident they can be, and two, what are the right ways of mitigating the local impacts.
Let's talk to Susan Kramer, who's very much your constituents, I'm sure, have plenty to say to you about this, Susan Kramer. But let's face it, Heathrow is an airport that was designed for, what, 45 million passengers a year. It's already carrying 67. I mean, no wonder it's frustrating using Heathrow.
Well, it's way beyond its design capacity, but do remember a third of those are people who are just coming into Heathrow to change planes. So the idea this is for, British people going overseas or people coming here to visit or do business. There's a whole lot more to this picture that wasn't just discussed a moment or two ago. And we've been saying, look, at a time of climate change, with aviation having such a big impact, shouldn't we be completely rethinking this and putting that kind of investment into rail? Why on earth should people not have fast trains to get around within the UK or to near places on the continent? And then any need for expansion would disappear. But look, we're not talking...
Could I just come back on the point that Susan makes?
I'm always generous to you, Steve, and let you come back. You know that.
Thank you, Susan. It's tremendously important that I convey a couple of points here. The capacity that is being planned to be built at Heathrow in 2020, 12 years' time, is about the same, in fact, it's slightly less, that Paris will have in 2 years' time. The second point is that a thriving hub, and therefore a thriving economy that is served by that hub, has to have transfer traffic. So it is simply not an acceptable argument to say these people are not touching the ground, coming in and leaving the country, and are not powerful economic agents, as it were. It's tremendously important that we have short-haul traffic feed so that we're able to serve locations such as Mumbai, Shanghai, Seoul, Kuala Lumpur, Tokyo, which are directly, uniquely serviced from Heathrow.
Stephen, transfer passengers certainly do a lot of shopping at Heathrow, so there's certainly an economic benefit there. Look, and of course there has to be some transfer traffic, but we need to begin this to an end. You're not just doing a tidying up exercise, a bit more capacity to make Heathrow workable. What you're actually doing is almost doubling the size of the airport. And at a time of climate change, doubling the number of flights is not the acceptable way to go. And the impact on local people, you know that the first proposal is going to be to take away the half day of peaceful noise that people in West London get. I mean, at the moment, people organise their weddings, for goodness sake, to try and be in that peace period. You're now going in a consultation to remove that as well. So the environmental impacts are huge.
We have to see this in the balance, which is we are already falling way behind Paris. We will be losing passengers and businesses to Amsterdam, Paris, Frankfurt. And what the government has said in its white paper of 2003 is make sure that you use your existing runway capacity as efficiently as you possibly can, And that's what that mixed mode which you talk about does.
Look,
it is
Stephen,
a proposal to use the runways more efficiently.
Because you always talk about it'll go to other airports. We had this conversation over roads. The British economy was going to collapse if we didn't have more roads, more motorways. It took a long time for sanity. And now that same predict and provide approach is being used to airports. And the kind of resistance that you're finding around Heathrow, it's there in Paris, in Frankfurt, in Schiphol. This is a European-wide movement to say, why on earth are we building aviation as the way to travel when it's completely unnecessary on so many journeys? Yes, if you're going to Mumbai or the United States, but many other journeys could be better done differently.
Well, I think
this expansion of Heathrow is part of the past, and it's not where we need it to be today.
Let's let the market decide in terms of rail links. Excuse me, if I could just finish this point. In terms of rail links and other routes that passengers can take to get from A to B.
You're talking of an industry that doesn't even carry its full cost.
Excuse me, let me finish the point.
Fuel duty, whatever else. My goodness.
The point that you do make, absolutely right, is you cannot and we cannot, either in this country or in other countries, be seen to expand aviation capacity without ensuring that the climate pollution effects are fully met. And that's why we have at BAA been in the vanguard of this, a proposal to push for an efficient trading scheme coming in Europe 2011.
That's not the answer, Stephen, and you know it. It will help. We're in favour of putting aviation in the emissions trading scheme, but none of us know what the impact on that scheme of putting that great big gorilla in is going to be. I mean, there's a strong fear that the cap, which actually tightens up emissions, will have to be left very loose when aviation is in, because you're all going to be needing to buy from other people so many rights to pollute. So it's going to have to be easy to generate the right to pollute. So there are real issues over how emissions trading will work, how effective it's going to be when it includes aviation. We all want to give it a try, but you cannot hang your hat on that. It's one part of the picture, and changing the way we do transport has to be the other.
But that's precisely the reason why there is a very strong incentive, which is being gripped, I'm glad to say, by the government, to push for an efficient trading scheme that is fit for purpose, to ensure that as aviation carbon dioxide emissions grow, and they will because of the demand for passengers to fly more, those are offset by reductions in other industries. That needs to be efficient. The government's taking the lead, and we at BAA fully support that.
Stephen Nelson, I'm going to have to stop you there. Susan Kramer, one final very quick point to you. Is there a slightly different way of tackling it? You need the expansion because you can't take a train to New York or Tokyo, but is there a way of penalising people who take journeys that they could otherwise do? Someone who flies between London and Newcastle when they could jolly well get on a train. Is that the way to tackle it?
Well, look, we need to change the way we invest. You heard the number for expanding Heathrow, £9 billion. Why don't we start by putting that into rail? Even if it was just a catalyst fund, it would start to really give us a huge dynamic for high-speed rail inside the country. We're not talking about these new, that's from changing the way it operates, from driving my local constituents mad with planes overhead all day. That would be a little bit of immediate expansion, but the rest is 2012 and beyond, 2020 and beyond. We've got time to make the shift to rail if we make that decision now and stop focusing on expanding Heathrow as the way in which to expand our transport capacity.
All right.
There's a lot we can do. We should do it.
Thank you very much to both of you. Quite clearly we could carry on for some time. We must leave it. Susan Kramer from the Liberal Democrats and Stephen Nelson, Chief Executive